Hey guys, it's Krystal Lee Moore Lucier here, also known as your Home Sweet Home 519 Realtor, Krystal Lee Moore. And today we're going to talk about balance, connection, and how there are two sides to every story. So let's just hop right into it. It is kind of a crazy time. Real estate spring is different every year and the same every year. So it's different because there are different variables. We have different things going on, different stresses, but it's also the same because really we can all be really stressed. I know with Buffini, they talk about how the spring market is a huge chunk of your business for the year. So how you do in spring is a big deal. And that's why we want to start working for the spring market long before the spring market. So in November, December, January, February, those are all the times that you're laying out the seeds. The goal is like to reap what you sow. So you're setting out all of the touch points, the contacts. You're really getting ready so that when the spring comes, you can be top of mind for your clients and for people in your farm area, for people in your network, because it really comes down to being able to have someone know you and like you and trust you. And those are all key foundations before they will work with you. And it's funny because we are talking about this in a networking group today, and we are talking about the importance of referrals. And I don't know, probably all of us are either in a networking group, we've been in one, we've started one. As realtors, sometimes the only way to be in one is to start one. But the big key with referrals is support. So sometimes people, especially newer people to the referral mindset, will say, oh, well, like I gave a card and that was my ability to refer. So I gave a card and I like, if they call you, great, that's from me, you're welcome. And you do want to be grateful for those referrals because someone's putting effort out. But for anyone that follows Brian Buffini, the Brian Buffini system says there are basically 4 separate miracles that have to happen in order for someone to become your client because someone else gave them your card. So firstly, they have to hang on to it. So when you get the card, you get it, whatever's happening in your life, you might not need it right away. So you get it, you hang on to it, which means it doesn't end up at the bottom of your purse. It doesn't end up in the garbage, doesn't end up in a pocket that you don't use very often. And then you have to remember you have it. So let's say you keep it, you have to remember you have it when you need it. So you're looking for a realtor, you're looking for a mortgage broker. This goes for every industry really, but whatever you're looking for, you happen to remember, oh, I have that card. Now you know the person that gave it to you, but you don't know the person on the card. So, and you've never spoken to them before. And there's this weird thing where you think if you call a stranger, they're going to be like, how did you get my number? Why are you calling me? And so it can be really intimidating. And you have no idea who this person is. You just know that your friend Mary said they were great. So, and that's fantastic, but then you have to call. And then if all of that happens, and you remember that you're going to call and you have to say all of this stuff, you could call and get a voicemail, or you could send an email and it could go to junk mail. So it can be really tough. So what we like to do instead, it's a warm introduction. So I will do the email introduction often. And the email introduction is helpful because what happens is I say, okay, here you go. Mary, you're looking for a plumber. I've worked with Salis Plumbing and Heating, and they're amazing. And then I will do an email introduction between the owner of the plumbing company and Mary. And I'll give a little bit of a background on Mary, a little bit of a background on the owner of the plumbing company. And I'll say, I hope you guys can connect. Please let me know if you have any questions. I'm always here to help. So no matter what happens, both people know that you did something good. So you're putting some goodwill into the world. And let's say down the road, Mary's like, oh, what was that plumber's name? All she has to do is type in my name in her email, and there it is. And if the plumber or whoever you sent is a professional, they should have been replying to that email and saying, hey, whenever you need anything, I'm here. Often we'll give a phone number. So, hey, they would call, because really the responsibility lies with us, the professionals, to be doing the emailing and the calling. It's not up to the client to start calling us. But often if you don't feel comfortable with that referral conversation, or if you aren't used to referring that way, it can feel uncomfortable. But when you can get into the groove and you really can say, hey, like, you are actually doing both people a favor. You're doing your friend a favor because you're saying, hey, don't waste your time just finding whoever and gambling with your plumbing. Go with this guy. He's amazing. And for the plumber or the connection, you're saying, hey, I support you. So here I am going out of my way to support you and help your business. Isn't that great? So what do you think is going to happen next time either person thinks of a real estate agent or someone they know thinks of a real estate agent? They might say, oh, hey, that's amazing. Like, you should talk to Krystal, or you should talk to Bob, or you should talk to Sarah, like whoever you are. But the point is, it's just about supporting and showing me support. And we don't give in order to get, but doesn't it feel good to know that you're supporting people who also support you? There's nothing wrong with wanting people to support you if you support them. The other thing I just wanted to really touch briefly on before we get into our main topic is the art of the thank you. So you'll hear me talk about this all the time, and it's really, it comes down to, it's a Buffini thing, but also it's just kind of a nice person thing. So if you think about your average bride, so what are they doing? They're planning the wedding. It's so amazing. And then they're always doing after the wedding, they sit down, they do the thank you cards, and they're important. And you do the thank you cards and it's expected. But for some reason, as we get older, thank you cards kind of just fall to the wayside. Mail in general falls to the wayside. And so instead of getting thank you cards in the mail, we get bills and flyers and brochures. And it's a lot. And so imagine if you're sending someone a thank you card and they get the card and it's just, number one, it's not mail and it's not a bill, so yay. But also it's just that little feel good to say, hey, you thought of me and it meant something. Thank you. So we do for referrals a lot. Like if someone sends you a client, you'd send a thank you. Or if someone sends you a referral, someone connects you with another person, you can send a thank you. And if you're feeling like writing a card in the mail and mailing it is like the scariest thing you've ever heard of, and absolutely not, you don't have to do it that way. You can do a text, you can do an email, you can do anything you want. That's the beauty of being human. However you feel is going to be authentic, go for it. But at the end of the day, thank those referrals, because I promise you, if you don't thank the referrals, they'll never tell you. You'll never have that conversation. But the next time, they may not feel really great about sending it to you if there's someone else thanking them for referrals. So think about that. And it's not that doing a great job isn't in and of itself a great thing. Yes, you want to do a great job, whether you're a lawyer, whether you're a home inspector, whether you're a mortgage broker, everyone definitely do a good job. That's like the baseline of why someone's hiring you. But beyond doing a good job for the client, thank them, because it's just that a little above and beyond, and it really does make all the difference. Plus, it feels really good to get a thank you card, and I can tell you from experience. Okay, so balance. So many times as realtors, everyone talks to us about real estate. We talk about real estate. We talk about business. We talk about entrepreneurs. We talk with our entrepreneurs, and the office really never closes because it's your cell phone, right? Like even if when we have the physical office, your cell phone is 24/7, and there's really not a shut off time. Back in the day, Sundays used to be the day that everyone was closed. You couldn't even go to the mall. I remember being little and being like, oh, mall's closed today. We should have gone yesterday. It was Saturday. But nothing closes anymore, really. And so you have to be responsible for your own balance. You need your on time, you need your off time. And we have talked about that before, but even on your off time, you have to make sure it's off time. So if you're answering questions to clients while you're sitting and watching a movie with your family, that's not really off time. Or if you are supposed to just be relaxing or reading or meditating and you just can't figure out how to stop talking about business planning, I mean, yes, be passionate. And I'm super passionate about what I do, but that comes at a price. And the price is that all I do is talk about work and talk about business. And it's easy because my friends also want to talk about work and business because most of them are entrepreneurs. It's important to not always be talking and thinking about business, because those off times, like that's where the magic happens. I always joke that like I get these epiphanies when I'm on a walk, and that's when really like the juices get flowing, and I'm like, okay, like this is great, and I'll come up with this fantastic idea that I didn't think of until I went on that walk. You just need sometimes to take a break. So make sure you're taking the balance, and that includes taking a day off, that includes taking vacations. You need to be your best you. So making sure that you're balancing things. You also can't only be talking about non-business. Like you do have to also focus on your business, and it's okay to talk about business. And as you get more used to being an entrepreneur, then that happens naturally. But the balance is very important. The other thing is connection. So connecting with people in our world is a big deal. So when we talked about referrals and knowing and liking and trusting, those are all pieces of connection. But it's important to connect with the right people. So right now I'm reading an amazing book. I've just started it. It's called The Full Fee Agent. It's really good. So Chris Voss is a co-author on it. And the whole, like this first chapter, it's like, do you want to be the favorite or do you want to be the fool? And I think everyone would say, oh, definitely the favorite, because obviously who wants to be a fool? But the point of this chapter is basically like we all kind of think we're the favorite. So we're going into these business opportunities and we think it's the cost of doing business. The other author is Steve Shull. So Chris Voss and Steve Shull, The Full Fee Agent. But what they talk about in this chapter is really interesting. So they say, like, if you go into appointments or you talk with clients where you are a possibility, just a possibility. So let's say there's a 20, 30, 40% chance you're going to get this client to sign with you. Then you shouldn't do it, because you're basically kind of like begging your way into this situation versus going and meeting with people where it's a probable situation. So the probability is in your favor that they're going to choose you because it's basically yours to lose. They like you. They called you for a reason. Definitely read the book, because they have dialogue, and a lot of the times we'll sit there trying to convince people as to why they should choose us, when ultimately we'd like to know why have they called us? Like, what was it about us that made them want to call? So if it's a family friend or a neighbor, it's important to have those conversations. I know I had some clients, and this was like a great couple, and we had this amazing rapport. I helped them buy their first house. It was a whole thing. And I ignored a lot of my normal rules, and I went along without signing anything. And as it turned out, at the end of the day, there were more decision makers at play, and all the work I did and nothing, like it literally zero. But really, if I had qualified the situation a little bit better, then I may not have been really like spending my time doing what I thought was just taking care of my clients. Really, in that situation, I was the fool, which is horrible to say, that you have to listen to this chapter. It's really good. And I think no matter where you are in your career, it's a very, very good lesson to learn. There will be opportunities for people who do choose you all the time. So it's going to happen, but you can't really find those if you're chasing after people that don't really care if you do it or not. Maybe they have a list of 5 or 6 people, and you're kind of just like competing to get them to choose you. And it's really tough. Like, they actually liken it to dating someone. So if someone was like, hey, like, I'm dating 5 people, tell me why should I date you? And then you having to give like a whole bunch of reasons as to why the person should date you, and how that would feel so much worse than if someone said, I choose you and you're who I want to be with. So yeah, definitely big recommend. And the other thing with connection is that values matter. So not good, not bad, but values are really important. And if somebody values loyalty, for example, loyalty is very, very important to them, and someone else values variety, you're gonna have a really hard time getting on the same page, especially if it's a client or a connection. So I'll find this happens quite a bit with people when we're talking about referrals. So I'm a very loyal person, and I try to kind of have a variety of people like that I'm loyal to, especially as a realtor. We want to make sure that we have a certain number of mortgage brokers or mortgage specialists, a certain number of lawyers, because we do want to make sure that we're giving our clients the option to choose. But I don't have a million options. I only have room, let's say, for 3 or 4, because I also know that those 3 or 4 people, they're supporting me, but they might have a few as well. So really, we just want to be on the list. We want to be on the list, and that's important. But if someone else does not have any loyalty and they want 30 options, the chances of me ever getting support from them, it goes down a lot. And so it's not to say that you should only connect with people when they can kind of do something for you, but think about the fact that you have a very small amount of time every day to devote to supporting businesses. So if you are out there supporting businesses that are not supporting you, when you could be out there supporting businesses that are supporting you, it makes all the difference. So checking those values is important. Reliability is another one. So I can tell you a really fast way to figure out who in your circle is reliable. If someone tells you they're going to call you back or text you back, did they? And not like in the world where, oh my goodness, people can forget, like we have 1,000 ways to get a hold of people. But if you were talking to someone and they said, oh, let me get back to you on that, do they? And if they don't, it doesn't mean they're a bad person, but if reliability is important to you and they don't do what they say, then that's going to be a problem for the long haul. And the same thing, like let's say punctuality is really important to someone, and punctuality and time management is a problem for someone else. So I'll tell you, I still struggle, but I used to struggle a lot more with time management because I would put so much on my plate and it was just me racing through everything all day, just trying to get to meetings, and I was consistently running behind, and it was a problem. And the key for me was to take the things off my plate. So I can still do all these things, I just can't do them in one day. I have to spread it out, and that's that. And whenever I do slip up and I add more things in, the same things will happen. But imagine that situation with someone who gets it, someone who maybe also has the same problem. If I show up a few minutes late, not a big deal. But now look at the situation if someone's very, like, punctuality is everything. And luckily for me, I can tell you, I seem to be surrounded by people in my family, my husband, everyone, like being on time is like everything. So that becomes a conflict because that's like their vision is this means you respect me and my time. And as opposed to me where I do respect them and I respect their time, I was just trying to respect too many people's desires and if they needed this done and that done and they wanted to see this and wanted to see that. So it comes down to figuring out what's important and then matching up with the people where you can get on the same page. So let's say your values align, but how they're presented is different. That's okay to get through. If someone really is like, no, I don't care when I show up, that's just how it works, I don't care, I don't respect you, that's a big problem. And I would argue that you cannot get over that unless they change that. So finding the values, and if you're not sure about your values, that's a great exercise to do. I did it through Colin's break quite a while ago, and it was really cool. And then the very last thing is that there's 2 sides to every story and everyone has their own narrative. So quick example, I was talking with this mortgage broker back and forth. We seemed to have a great rapport, but could just never get on the same page. This person said like, oh, I'm going to send you something, never sent it. And that's not like, it never occurred to them. And when I reached out to them, it was like, oh, I thought you forgot about me. And initially I'm like, oh, that's so strange. Like, you thought I forgot about you. Like, I thought you forgot about me. And so we're all just living in our own story, our own narrative, our own version of the world. And sometimes we assume other people are thinking the same thing or they're in the same narrative that we're in, but not really. We all have these simultaneous stories going on at the same time. And when we connect for the same chapter, let's say, or even the same page, it can be easy to assume that we've been living the same story. But people, especially when you talk to them, you'll find out that the perception may have been different. And so we need to be very understanding of that. Thanks so much for listening, guys. This is Krystal Lee Moore Lucier, also known as your Home Sweet Home 519 Realtor, Krystal Lee Moore, and this is Realtor Life.